Now, on 105.9 FM and streaming worldwide on the WMAL app, O'Connor and Company.
It's 7:06 now as we forge ahead on this 24th day of July. Thanks for tuning into O'Connor and Company from your nation's capital. Coming up in 30 minutes, we're going to speak with Andy Harris, Maryland Congressman Extraordinaire, the only Republican speaking on behalf of the state of Maryland in Washington, D.C. At 8:05, KT McFarland will join us, and then at 8:35, Molly Hemingway. We will pick her brain about the latest revelations from Tulsi Gabbard and the Obama-led Russian collusion hoax scandal. That's all coming up. I'm Larry O'Connor with Patrice Onwuka. Good morning, Patrice.
Here I am, signed, sealed, and delivered. Good morning, Larry.
Wow. I feel like we have to have a karaoke night for the team here.
That would be too amazing.
Right? The whole O'Connor and Company team. I was either go out for karaoke or go to the Coldplay concert when it comes to town. But I think it would be best.
We're not like them.
To just stick with karaoke. All right, let's quickly change the subject and bring in Patrick Hedger. He is the Director of Policy for NetChoice. Mr. Hedger, good morning. Thanks for joining us.
Hey, looking forward to karaoke night.
You're invited.
You're invited.
At the end of our discussion, I'll ask you what your go-to karaoke song is. But first, let's get down to business. Yesterday, the White House released an AI action plan. President Trump participated in a live production of the All In podcast here in town, and he revealed 3 prongs here that will help America be the leader internationally on artificial intelligence. Now, I'd love for you to unpack what the 3-pronged approach is, and if I may, why is this so important? What is the power of AI writ large? Because right now I just see it as something that helps people make, fake video memes, and maybe Sports Illustrated can, automate some of their articles about yesterday's game. But beyond that, what is AI really going to do for us?
Yeah, so that is a great question. AI is really the first general purpose technology that some of us are ever going to experience in our lifetimes. I think it is more important for our economy than even the internet itself, even though AI generally rides on top of the internet. I think the economic impact of AI is going to be something closer to the impact of electricity itself on our economy than anything else, because yes, you're right that a lot of people are using it right now to generate videos and do searches with chatbots. But what they're not seeing is what's really going on behind the scenes in advanced industries, where AI is recognizing molecular patterns, for example, that we didn't know previously existed, which means we can create new stable materials for industrial purposes. It's also being used in medical applications for early diagnoses of rare diseases, so you can treat it before it becomes too aggressive to treat. And it's also helping us create and synthesize new types of drugs that are personal to patients and don't come with the nasty side effects that you have with drugs that are widely used. So, I mean, it is really a game changer, and the overall economic impact to the global economy is estimated to be $22 trillion per year.
Wow. That is remarkable.
To put that in perspective, that's like adding 4.5 new Germanys to the global economy every single year.
Patrick, that's spectacular. And at Independent Women, my main job, we put out a statement in support of the EOs yesterday, coming from a couple of different angles. And my angle was, the impact on youth and young people. One of the parts of the executive order is really to push for early adoption and understanding in the K through 12 level, as well as helping our workforce be able to transition into gaining those skills that would allow them to really utilize AI for the jobs of the future. Talk to us a little bit more about some of the other aspects of the executive orders, particularly around data centers, which is a hot button topic here in this DMV area.
Yeah. So the 3 pillars are accelerate AI innovation, and then you have build American AI infrastructure, and then the final pillar is lead in international AI diplomacy and security. And so these all work off of one another, but the general themes here is that government is going to say, hey, where can we help? And otherwise, where can we get out of the way? And all of this is about making it easier not just to develop AI systems, do the coding, and then launch the programs. You've got to have the physical infrastructure behind AI as well. The data centers that you mentioned, right? And the data centers essentially serve two purposes. One, a data center is a storage area, right? The cloud is a data center. All videos and pictures that you never delete from your phone have got to be stored somewhere. Your medical records, things like that, have to be stored in a secure location so you can access them anywhere. The other thing data centers are increasingly doing is powering AI. So you have a second set of chips within data centers that are able to handle the queries to an AI chatbot, for example. And so it's really important that if we're going to lead on AI, we've got to be building the data centers here. But in line with the third pillar, lead in international AI diplomacy and security, we need to make sure we're exporting American AI so that the rest of the world is using American systems and not Chinese systems.
Okay, let's delve into that a little bit here. So it feels almost like this is a race, sort of like the race to get a man on the moon, right? Where all these competing international entities are trying to be first. What does that look like exactly? Are we talking about just sort of standardizing protocols across the board? Are we looking at, there's the Apple platform, there's the, PC Windows platform, or the various different chargers you might use for a smartphone? Are we looking for an international standard that will follow America's lead? Is that what you mean?
Yeah, so it is very much so a race. Unfortunately, there's probably not a finish line to this race. So we've always got to keep charging ahead because the Chinese are not years behind us. They are months behind us. We're able to independently test their models. And they're producing, whether they're lying, cheating, or stealing to get there, they're producing advanced AI models that are pretty powerful. And the only way AI gets better is with scale, which means we've got to be building AI capacity for the rest of the world to be using American chips and using American models versus Chinese models. But also we need to be able to make sure that we're able to export those things because as crazy as it sounds, the speed of light becomes a problem at the international level because data travels at the speed of light. And so if we don't have American data centers, that's right. If we don't have American data centers overseas, they're going to build on more local data centers. So if the Chinese are building overseas, there's actually an advantage to having the data center processing the request closer to the app user or the app developer. So
Patrick,
it's important that we're building them here.
I know Patrice has a couple more questions. I have a couple of more questions. Can you just stick with? We got to take a minute to talk about traffic here in the area. Can you stay with us so we can delve into this? Because this doesn't get discussed enough, and I think people sort of wave it off and say, "Oh yeah, AI. I know that's an issue." But we hit it head on yesterday with the Trump administration, and President Trump is getting a lot of kudos for it. But I don't think people really sort of follow up on this and know exactly the impact. So I'd love to talk to you a little bit more about it.
Yeah, happy to stick around.
Great. All right. We're going to pepper Patrick with more questions about AI. Patrice. Patrice will pepper Patrick. Say that 3 times fast. But first, we're going to pickle some pears and pine nuts. It's 7:15 WMAL.
WMAL, making sense of the news. Live from the Home Paramount Pest Control Studios. Home Paramount, the leader in pest control since 1939.
We continue now with our conversation about yesterday's big announcement with regard to our nation's policy on artificial intelligence. Patrick Hedger with us, Director of Policy for NetChoice. If I could just step back for a moment, was there much discussion about the human element here and the toll on us humans? Remember us, Patrick? I'm struck by an interview that Mike Rowe gave the other day where, he sort of reflected on the fact that for the last 20 years, and this spoke to me because I raised 4 children over the last 20 years, and we parents were told to make sure that our kids learned everything they could about STEM and they get a job and make sure your kids know how to code, for instance, or maybe design websites. Well, coding and designing of websites is now being handed over to these machines, to AI. Those jobs are drying up now. It's not like it's going to a foreign competitor. They're going to machines. Humans aren't even doing it anymore. So how do humans factor into all of this, Patrick?
Yeah, that's a great question, and that's something that thankfully the White House did not overlook. There's a significant chunk of this AI action plan is about workforce training and also K-12 and education development around AI, because increasingly what we're seeing is that AI is not necessarily going to be displacing people. It's going to be people working with AI are going to be displacing people that don't have an understanding of AI. And so it's really critical that we are adjusting our public education system, our higher education system, and then also putting in place workforce retraining programs to help with this adjustment, because you see this happen with any sort of new technological revolution. And frankly, I think we've probably done a bad job in history in compensating for that. So I'm really glad to see it being taken care of at this early outset, or at least recognized by leaders at the outset.
You know, Patrick, taking a step back and just a big picture viewpoint of how the government is viewing and approaching its relationship with AI, I think the Trump administration is taking a different approach than the Biden administration. I think the Biden administration, they had released some like a regulatory approach, which seemed to have wanted to kind of crack down or try to control the development of artificial intelligence, whereas the Trump administration, like you were saying previously, is, how can government help or get out of the way? Talk to us about the different approaches and why, kind of that lighter touch regulatory approach would be beneficial to the development of AI rather than trying to control it.
Yeah, as far as the lighter touch approach, it follows the historical model that we've had in this country that really gave rise to America being the leading internet hub of the world, right? They're Googles and the Microsofts and the Metas of the world. That's no accident it happened here. And so it's trying to replicate that model. We've got AI founders and venture capitalists that have said that in their meetings with the Biden administration, they said, stop investing. We're only going to have 2 to 3 major AI companies, and we're going to be in control of those effectively. Versus the Trump administration saying, look, let's let 1,000 flowers bloom, and let's let competition and capitalism do its thing in order to give rise to great companies and also weed out the ones that aren't doing so great. So I think that approach is far more in line with the American expectation and is going to put us in a much more successful position to be able to compete with a command and control economy like China.
The two states in our backyard here in Washington are Virginia and Maryland. Both governors try to make a case that they're sort of they're on the leading edge of being the appropriate places for data centers and various aspects of this new technology. First of all, in your perspective, how big a deal is it for a state to be able to be at the forefront of data centers, and who's doing well here in Virginia, Maryland? And also, what about the electricity and power considerations?
Yeah, the electricity and power considerations are really important. I mean, the entire country has got to step up there. We're going to need more power, not just for data centers, but we keep talking about reshoring manufacturing. There's increasing amount of electric cars on the grid. So all of these technological transitions that are happening are going to need electricity. It's not just AI. So that's a big part of this AI action plan, is not just deregulating that technology, but also making it easier to build power. As far as the DMV experience, I think the results sort of speak for themselves. If you drive out on the Dulles Toll Road, you'll see all of these data centers. But what you'll also see is the benefit of data centers, because it's not just those buildings with the servers in them. There are a lot of office towers out there as well, because there's a real advantage to co-locating near a data center, because you've got an educated workforce, you've got a good internet connection, you've got a good electrical connection. So Virginia is way out ahead. Something like over half of the global internet flows through Northern Virginia.
Wow.
And Governor Glenn Youngkin, to his credit, vetoed one of these overbearing AI regulations that the Virginia state legislature had passed earlier this year. So Virginia gets high marks.
Patrick Hedger is our guest. We're talking about the big AI announcement yesterday from President Trump. Patrick is with NetChoice. He's the director of policy there. All right, one last question. Before the dawn of the internet and the huge explosion in the 90s of the web, if you had made a small investment in a little startup called Cisco back in 1990 when they went public, you'd be a very happy man right now, or at least you would have been happy by the end of the decade. hypothetically speaking, if somebody were looking at AI right now and thinking, geez, this seems like it's going to be a big deal, where would you suggest they put their money?
Oh gosh, that's the $1 trillion question, isn't it?
Literally.
Oh, I don't want to get into the folly that so many politicians do in trying to predict the future. So, I would say always good to invest in the NASDAQ. How about that?
Oh, that's very smart.
Okay, well,
we'll take
it. We'll take it.
Oh,
Thank you,
are you really? You're
Patrick.
telling me an index fund? Well, no, but not to put a fine point, it's like it's too late for NVIDIA, right? That's already shipped. Or maybe it's not. Maybe NVIDIA is still a good investment. But I guess, what's the technologies that are sort of going to be the burgeoning things? Is it a good idea to sort of watch the chip manufacturers? Is it a good idea to look at the people who are investing in the human element of this or the power infrastructure of it? You know what I mean? There's a lot of ancillary industries that are going to be buoyed by this.
Yeah, what I think is really exciting is, in my personal opinion, is the renaissance of nuclear energy, because that's going to have we finally have the demand side just push through the shutdown, effectively, of nuclear power that we saw in this country to say, look, we really need this. This is the cleanest source of energy and most reliable source of energy that we have. Yes, it's expensive, but the only way it's going to get more affordable is if we continue to invest and innovate.
Great answer. I think that's true.
Yeah,
and the politicized opposition does not exist like it did in the late 70s. It was so misguided. Thank you, Patrick. Great stuff. I appreciate you joining us.
Thanks, Patrick.
And thanks for putting up with my nonsense. Oh, what's your go-to karaoke song?
Don't want to miss a thing. Aerosmith from the Armageddon soundtrack.
That's
all right. Nice,
you know
nice.
That is a solid
That's a good
choice
one.
there. I thought you more a Neil Diamond guy, but yeah, let's go with it. It's 7:24 now.